Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Woodside SDA Youth, where we are doing 365 Days with Jesus. That is our program for this year. And what is 365 Days with Jesus? Well, it's pretty much in the name. Every single day, we want to read a part of the Bible with the goal that at the end of the year, December 31st, we have read the entire Bible. That is the goal. That is what we want to say. I have read the entire Bible. We want to tell people, but also not just to tell people that we read the Bible, but to also tell other people how much we were blessed by reading the entire Bible. Because, guys, so far it has been a great experience, but the most thing that you should be getting from all these readings is not, you gathering up all the amounts of reading that you did and tell people, oh, I've read this amount of books from the Bible. How much have you read? This whole program is about getting closer to Jesus, getting closer and familiarized with his holy word so that we can spread around with everybody. We have seen in the news people suffering, people dying. A lot of people are going through so many things, and people just need God's, God's message to enter their hearts. And what better way for them to come to know the message than someone like us, like you and me, a close friend, probably a coworker, a neighbor, a family member, for us to go and share the message with them. But in order for us to share the message with these people who are hurting, we need to know the message ourselves, guys. And this is the point of this entire program that we're doing, 365 Days with Jesus. It is also a great blessing, has been a great blessing for me, and I know it has been a great blessing for you. And it can also be a great blessing if you're just tuning in for the first time this week. It can be a great blessing for you. So we encourage everybody to partake in this very wonderful challenge, I would say. So today we finished the book of Second Samuel. So today we're supposed to read Second Samuel chapter 23 to chapter 24, and that is it, guys. We finished the first two books of Samuel. That's done. We are cruising through these books, and it has been a great blessing. So, what were these chapters about, pretty much? So, chapter 23, it's David's last words. Right now he's nearing the end, and I'm pretty sure these are like probably his last psalm or something like that, but they titled it David's last words. And it's very, very nice message that he leaves behind. It talks about the spirit of the Lord, how much the Lord has helped him, and how much credit he gives, to all the accomplishments that he has received. He gives it all to God, and it's very, very nice. Then one of the cool parts of this book is that it talks about the warriors of David, his mighty men. And it talks about certain characters that did extraordinary things, like killed so many amount of enemies in single days, who, killed animals, fierce and dangerous animals. And just incredible stories about, war and all those things, war heroes. And it's just amazing to see how, God not only used David, but he used so many people from there. Everybody needs a good team, is not just one person. So in chapter 24, very tricky chapter for many people to understand. I didn't know that this was how Second Samuel ended, but yes, we have here a very it can be a very confusing chapter for many of us. It talks about how David does a census to count who or how many men are available for war. And apparently this was not a good thing to do in front of God, or this was not something God wanted him to do. The tricky part is that in the beginning of chapter 24, we kind of see, or we understand, that God makes him do it, right? So why would God make David do something that God himself didn't want him to do, right? We will talk about that a little later. But yeah, so David does that, and then God is mad against him. Then the prophet Gad goes to David and says, God is mad with you. Here you have three options. And one is for 3 years, there's going to be famine. Another one, 3 months, you're going to be persecuted, or 3 days, there's going to be a pestilence or a pandemic, something like that. So David chooses the pestilence, the 3 days, right? Instead of taking ownership for himself, he does this, right? But then David repents. He offers an altar to God, and a sacrifice, and God forgives him, and then the pestilence stops. And that is how the story of King David ends. Well, not really, because we kind of see King David at the beginning of First Kings, so we'll see that tomorrow. So yeah, so let us go to the 3 points, guys. The first point is what new things I learned. Like I just mentioned right now, I just learned that this story of David doing the census is at the end of the book. See, I thought this came way before, and then the last part of the book was gonna be David's last words and talking about his mighty men, right? But apparently, this is the last story. I didn't know the part of David building an altar to, stop the pestilence. I didn't know that. I thought everything just happened, and David just repented. Also, I didn't know some things about the mighty men. There's this guy named Josheb who killed like 800 men in one day, guys. That's insane. 800 men. Like, I don't even think in modern warfare we had, in modern wars, we had someone kill that many people, or maybe they did, but like in one day, that's just insane, right? So that was some of the new things I learned. So some of the questions I have, and here I will also explain if you guys have some tricky thoughts after reading chapter 24. It says God incited David to do the census, to do this bad thing, right? Now you may be asking yourself, man, this is God, this is pretty messed up from God. Why would He force David to do something? And does God force people to do bad things and stuff like that? So, like I mentioned in many videos before, maybe this is your first time tuning in, and you may not really be familiar with the language of the Bible. It's very important for us to realize that the Bible was not written in English, nor in Spanish, not French, not German, not you know, all these languages, Chinese. And so it is very important for us to ask ourselves, what is the original language? How did they speak? Guys, I'm from New York. We have certain words that we use, certain things that we say, that when a New Yorker hears it, he understands. But if someone else listens, they go like, what are they talking about? For example, I would say like, man, I haven't seen you in a minute, right? And if you take that literally, you're saying that you haven't seen someone in just 60 seconds, in a minute. That's like a very short time. But if you're from New York, when I say a minute, I mean a very, very long time, right? So this is like the differences of the languages, the different meanings that different words had in different times, right? And like we have mentioned before, when when the writer writes in the Old Testament, back then, anything that God allowed, he was being credited to, right? When people read, when the Hebrews read this part of the Bible, they were not confused. When they read that the Lord incited David, it didn't bother them, because they know that it was not the Lord who incited him. He allowed David to be incited. But who incited David to do this bad thing? If we look at so the books of First and Second Chronicles kind of give more details about the stories that happened, during the time of David, and during the time of King Solomon, and during other kings, right? They give more information. And in the Chronicles account of this story, it mentions clearly that it was Satan who incited David to do the census, right? So then there's no contradiction here. This part saying God incited, and the other one it says that Satan incited. There's no contradiction. I think God in chapter 24 that we read today, the Hebrew writer, the person who's writing, says God allowed David to be incited. People back then at the time read that and were not confused at all, because they knew the diction, they knew the language, they knew the way of speaking back then, right? So when Chronicles comes along, the person is like, you know what, let me be a little bit more specific. Let me put David inside it. I mean, no, Satan incited David, right? And it gives a little bit more detail for us to fully understand chapter 24. That God allowed Satan to incite David, and not because God controlled Satan, but because Satan goes to David, and he wants to tempt him, and probably David no longer didn't want God's protection at that time, so he had to let Satan go and do his thing, right? Because there's rules in the great controversy, which we will look at as we are reading throughout the Bible. Then so there's so many questions here. So now that we know that it was Satan who made David do this bad thing, my question is, why was doing a census a bad thing, right? Census is when you count people. Was this like a sign of pride? Was this because God said no and then David did it anyway? Why was the census bad? Like, did it show that David didn't trust God with the amount of people he had? That he needed to count again so that he can get more help or something like that? That's my question in this section, right? Why was the census a bad thing, right? Another another interesting thing is that um, there was an angel, like an angel of destruction, that went through the pestilence, and caused the destruction. A lot of people died, 70,000. Um, so the angel of death, is this the first time we see the angel of death? Now it looks like God has certain angels that he uses to carry out missions like this, like death missions. And this is very interesting. I have more questions about the nature of these angels who are given these roles, right? Very interesting for me to see. Another question is, like, why did so many people have to die because of David, right? They God in his infinite wisdom strike down those who actually were bad people, or I mean, I guess the Bible would have said that, but maybe the 70,000 who died were actually bad people. I don't know. But yeah, those are some of the questions that I have. And guys, don't be scared to ask these type of questions. Sometimes it feels like you're throwing God under the bus or feel like you're tainting God's image. Go ahead, ask questions, because people will have these questions and they might turn away from God. But if you ask these questions in your own separate time and you look for answers, you can help people understand the reading and not turn away from God, because sometimes it can be very tricky, all right? So guys, keep on reading, keep on with the reading. You read something that baffles you or confuses you, keep on reading, keep on researching and doing all these things. And yeah, you guys, God will help you understand his Bible more. Now, another interesting thing that I'm going to mention, which is what I did, was that I saw the part of the story in Second Samuel. Now I know that this part of the story is also mentioned in Chronicles, so then I go to Chronicles and check for more details. So this is something else that you can also do. If you're reading a story, it confuses you, but then you see, like in your little footnotes that you find in the Bible, that the story is repeated. Go and check to see what new information you can find in the different account, and different book in the Bible, because this can help you understand better. Because sometimes writers write from one perspective and then they write from another perspective. They're all guided by the Holy Spirit, but different writers can bring out different important details that make us put all the pieces together, and so that we can understand more. So that's another tip, guys. Do intertextuality, which means go from book to book to see what meanings or new things you can find. Don't just stick to one part of the Bible. Go and look in other places as well. So let us go to the third part of this video, and it is the application. What message does God have for me? Now, one of the messages that I got, and maybe this is not a message that you got immediately when you were reading this, maybe David's last words impacted you, or his actions in giving and sacrificing to God in chapter 24 impacted you. But for me, what impacted me the most, and it's because it's kind of cool, it's the mighty men of David, right? David's mighty warriors. This just shows me that you cannot just do things yourself. David was the one who was anointed to be king. David was the one whom the Bible describes as a man after God's own heart. David is the one who's described as brave, as strong, as a strategic person, and smart. And, it seems that all the powers were on him. But in order for him to succeed, David needed a team. David needed people who also had his qualities. People needed men who were blessed also by God. And this is the thing, that sometimes it can be very hard, because sometimes you feel like God blesses you and he gives you special gifts. And maybe in church positions, like you're now the leader and now you want to do everything yourself. Maybe you start having your own ideas. You're the only one who understands yourself. So then you want to do everything alone and you don't want help, guys. So what I get from here is that everybody needs help. Even though David was blessed, with bravery, he was given special gifts by God. He was anointed by him directly. David wouldn't have won the wars that he did if it wasn't for his supporting cast, if it wasn't for his mighty men, if it wasn't for, these brave guys who also let God use them to do incredible things. Like these guys also killed giants. Here in the chapter, it says that one of these guys killed a giant Egyptian. I didn't know giants came from Egypt either, right? And one of these guys also killed a lion, just like, the same way David did. This guy also killed 800 men in one day. Like the people like here, his mighty men also did us amazing things, just like David. And this goes to show that no matter how much you think you're blessed, or like how much God blesses you so that you can bless others. And also God puts you in a place not for you to do everything yourself, but also he will put people that can help you out. He will give you friends. He will give you good coworkers. He will give you family members that are there for you. Don't think that you're ever alone in this world. And if you think that you can do everything yourself, maybe you're in a situation where you have to do everything yourself. But most of us, we live in a society that are, you're filled with people, you're filled with friends, you're on Facebook, with their social media, you can connect with everybody. You have support. You have, people there that you can help you. If you're starting a new ministry, get help. Ask God, please give me people that can help me out. Maybe God blessed you with public speaking. Maybe God blessed you with making sermons, the ability to make sermons. God blessed you with the ability to plan, right? But you still need a team. You want use those gifts, but God wants you to use a team. Hey guys, this whole thing. Church needs to be teamwork. Family needs to be teamwork. Marriage needs to be teamwork. Relationships needs to be teamwork. Everything has to be a team. Don't let us not fall into the trap of being selfish of everything else. Everything we can do it. Everything. No, guys. Let us be open to receive help. Let us be open to have a team. Let us be open to work together with other people. Because God is coming back not to take one person, but to take a group of people. He comes back to take his church, guys, and the church is made of thousands of people. We are all a team. Let us have the spirit of teamwork in our churches. Let us have the spirit of teamwork in school, in our families, in our relationships, guys. It's very, very important, because if only one person is doing the work, you guys are not going to go anywhere. And this applies to many things: relationships, families, friends, and everything. So guys, this is the message that I got. I hope you were blessed. And if you learned something wonderful from the reading today, even though it was a little weird, I'm pretty sure God gives messages in every one of his chapters, and we're glad to listen from you. And we want to, if you were impacted by the word today, send us a message saying this is what helped me. If you think I took something out of context, please let me know, because sometimes we misunderstand things that we read. And if we just correct each other, with a good spirit, we can learn together, all of us, right? So this has been the video. I hope to see you again tomorrow. And I want to encourage you guys to keep on with this challenge, because Satan doesn't want you to do it, but God wants you to do it. And if we're all together, if you have a supporting cast like we, you don't have to feel alone. You know that I am doing it. You know that Yvette's doing it. You have at least 2 people here who are doing this challenge with you. And, if you ever feel discouraged, send us a message saying, I've been falling behind. I need help. Send us a message and we'll message you so we can be accountable together. So guys, have a good one. I'll see you again tomorrow.